the system of financial calculations that we use is in outer space. And it's the basis of all the decisions that we make. So there's no way that we can use that way of making decisions in a way that is responsible. It's built in irresponsibility. The fundamental calculations that businesses make are fundamentally irresponsible. And all of us too.
The second question is for Coal-Free Bellingham Channel. How will the Bellingham Community Bill of Rights do what is best for the county? The community is more than simply the city of Bellingham. Do the other parts of Whatcom County have a say, or will they be subjected to the whims of the city?
The Bellingham Community Bill of Rights relates to the laws of Bellingham. From the start, we've invited people from the county to understand what we're doing and to work with them and encourage them to adopt a similar ordinance. And there is a group of people who live outside Bellingham who are beginning to organize as we did, and with the hope of adopting a countywide ordinance that's very similar. And we encourage them, and we're helping them. And
I guess I would just add to that. I live in Ferndale, and we're actually taking a look at the railroad as a possible partner to get some of the things that we wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. I'll give you a really good example. In Ferndale, we have one main street, and everything else crosses the railroad. And so we are taking a look at train traffic and saying, which, by the way, current train traffic, which includes coal trains, isn't even close to the historical levels. So if you think it's bad now, there was a time when it was much, much worse. So, and we may eventually reach that time again, but we don't know for sure. And maybe we'll get into that later on with the recent study that was done by Community Wise. But I sat down with the mayor of Ferndale and we talked about, okay, so BNSF wants to come through and haul more trains. That has an impact on our community. What do we as a community want in return? And one of the big things was we've been trying to build an overpass for years to get from I-5 to the north side of town. And we said, hey, government doesn't have the money to give us any more. The federal government, I should say the state, has no transportation money. It's all going to Seattle. The state government, or the federal government, doesn't have any money to give a little town like Ferndale money to build an overpass when we already have connectivity. What could we do? And our mayor has already started talking about Burlington Northern. And lo and behold, Burlington Northern gets paid to remove railroad crossings. And they said, you mean you will let us get rid of that Washington State crossing if we help you build an overpass? And we're having that discussion. This is a community amenity that we have recognized that we needed for years. And we're actually working with the railroad to, mitigate that impact. And it's going to be to our town's benefit. The tack that Bellingham has taken, and I think it's one that has really disturbed Bellingham a lot, is to be in an adversarial role. That is, you're cutting off our waterfront, you're cutting off our emergency services, you're cutting off this, you're cutting off that. And really what I think it gets to is Bellingham has cut off its nose to spite its face. And it's not going to work. The rest of the county outside of Bellingham is hurting. We have farmers that are trying to figure out how to get their products to a market. We have refineries that could really use another deep water port. There's just a lot of stuff up. There's a lot of longshoremen who used to work in Whatcom County who are now commuting to Everett. They would like to come home. There's a lot of these stories when you get outside the little enclave of Bellingham. And that's why I think you're seeing that discussion have a different tone out there. Bellingham's an anomaly here, but I think it'll be an interesting result. I think a lot of the communities that choose to work with this, choose to take the opportunities that such a project presents and try and maximize those to the benefit of their residents, I think will end up coming out much ahead than Bellingham will.